Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to our Mother's Day service and the return of our annual flower communion. I am just one of your worship associate team, and today we are all here to do this service. We are pleased that you are with us, whether online or here in person. It's a lovely spring day, a little overcast, but that's nice. And so you can see that we have many demonstrations of spring in front of us. This church, like all Unitarian Universalist congregations, is founded on a common vision rather than a required creed. Our first principle is every person has inherent worth and dignity and deserves to be treated with kindness. Our mission is to nourish spirits, work for justice, and transform lives. So again, I say welcome, and we hope that today you find fellowship, peace, and hope among us. Let us begin our worship with these words from a hymn written by Dr. Norbert Chapek in 1923 when he originated this flower service. Color and fragrance, magical rhythm, sweet changing music that changes us with them. Life within life, inner light, gently glowing, living in harmony, we can be God's vision, growing. Shaper of all things, to us you have given the chance to keep here on earth your heaven. Moving in harmony, light gently glowing, may we be gratefully God's vision growing. Today is a day of ritual. Rituals are about transformation, about being part of something greater than ourselves. I like ritual. It feels not stale or staid to me, but a call to get outside of myself and join in community with those around me. UUs are not really big on rituals. Flower communion only happens once a year, but we have other common practices. Each Sunday, we renew our covenant, the vow made with and to one another about how we wish to be in the church and as our best selves. Please join me. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in freedom, and to help one another. Our responsive reading is entitled, In the Beginning She Said. This is written by Reverend Jan Aldridge Clanton, a feminist liberation theologian and a minister ordained in the Alliance of Baptists, an unusual combination. You may find her source material familiar here. Your responses are in bold on the screen. In the beginning, our Divine Mother gave birth to the universe.
She gave birth to light, and she said, "That's good."
God gave birth to the earth, and she saw that it was good.
She gave birth to the grass, trees, and growing things of all kinds, and said, "That's good."
Our Mother gave birth to all the fish, both large and small, that swim in the oceans, and to all the winged birds that fly above the earth. And she said, "They are good."
God gave birth to cattle and to all kinds of animals, and she saw how good they were.
Then our Divine Mother gave birth to human beings, a great diversity of bodies and minds and hearts, echoing the abundance of the world. And she blessed the human beings with her responsibility for the earth and all other living beings that she had birthed.
We come to celebrate all these gifts from our Divine Mother.
We come to learn again what it means to be entrusted with these gifts.
We join together with our Mother and with one another in giving birth to beauty, peace, and kindness.
Our Our mother gives us all the power to give birth and nurture life.
God, Mother, you continually give us life, nourish us, and teach us to become all you created us to be in your divine image.
And together we say, help us to receive your power and love so that others may draw life from us. May we join you in giving birth to new life and in nurturing creation. So be it.
Hello, I'm Jen Mason. See a blossom in your mind's eye, allowed to fill the interior of your imagination. Greater perfection of form and nature cannot be imagined. With inward gaze, absorb each wondrous fluted petal. Slide down its surface until you drop as the dew drops into its velvety core. Immerse your sense in this safe chamber. Such fragile beauty gives us an impulse to weep. Now slowly reverse the journey. As you ascend the shaft toward wider light, turn your imagination around and around to see its many facets. Stored within is the memory of all flowers. Marvel that this creation, while utterly fragile, yet undaunted, boldly buds forth, turning resolutely toward the sun. We too shimmer with expectations, exuding our own illumination, color, pulse, and scent. Vulnerable, yet we venture our lives courageously towards hope and light, at once fragile and rooted. Now let us take a moment of silence.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Steve Mason, and I'd like to share a little bit of history about the flower communion and how that originated. The flower communion service was created by Norbert Kopich, or Chopik, sorry, excuse me. He was born in 1870, the founder of the Unitarian Church in Czechoslovakia. He introduced this special service to his church on June 4, 1923. For some time, he had felt the need for some symbolic ritual that would bind people more closely together. Reverend Chopik turned to the native beauty of their countryside for elements of a communion which would be genuine to them. This simple service was the result. It was such a success that it was held yearly just before the summer recess of the church. People were asked to bring a flower of their choice, either from their own gardens or from a field or a roadside. And when they arrived at the church, a large vase stood waiting for each one to place their own flower. This signified that it was by their own free will as they joined with others. The vase that contained all the flowers was a symbol of the united and church fellowship. The vase was carried up to the front. Dr. Chopik then said a prayer, after which he walked over and consecrated the flowers while the congregation stood. Then, as people left the church, they went to the vase and each took a flower from the vase, different from the one that they had brought. The significance of the flower communion is that no two flowers are alike, just as no two people are alike. Yet each has a contribution to make. Together, the different flowers form a beautiful bouquet, just as it is with our church community. It would not be the same without each and every one of us. The flower communion was brought to the U.S. in 1940 and introduced to the members of our Cambridge, Massachusetts church by Dr. Chopik's wife, Maya. The Czech-born Maya had met Norbert Chopik in New York City while he was studying for his PhD, and it was at her urging that Norbert left the Baptist ministry and turned to Unitarianism. The Chopics returned to Czechoslovakia in 1921 and established a dynamic liberal church in Prague. Maya Chopik was ordained in 1926. It was during her tour of the United States that Maya introduced the flower communion. From that beginning, this service has spread to many of our Unitarian Universalist congregations and has been adapted along the way. Unfortunately, Maya was unable to return to Prague due to the outbreak of World War II. She did not learn of her husband's death until after the war ended. When the Nazis took control of Prague in 1940, they found Dr. Chopik's gospel of the inherent worth and beauty of every human person to be, as Nazi court records show, too dangerous for the Reich to allow him to live. Dr. Chopik was sent to Dachau, where he was killed the next year during a Nazi medical experiment. This gentle man suffered a cruel death, but his message of human hope and decency lives on through his flower communion, which we celebrate today. And now we invite you to join our flower communion. It is not necessary for you to have brought flowers to take part in this celebration. As you see, we have many beautiful flowers to share. We ask that each of you approach the communion vases with a sense of gentleness, reverence, and love. Each flower represents our unique humanity, yet we are alike in our need for kindness and care. By exchanging flowers, we show our willingness to walk together in our search for truth, disregarding all that may divide us. Each person takes home a flower brought by someone else, thus symbolizing our shared celebration of our community. Dr. Chopik emphasized that this communion of sharing is essential to the free people of a free religion. Your worship associates will now come forward to direct the different sections to come up. Receive your flower from the person in front of you, and then choose a flower from the altar to pass to the person behind you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Anna Jarvis was known as the founder of Mother's Day in the United States, and she was very upset about the commercialization of the holiday she'd established. She said, "A printed card means nothing except that you are too lazy to write to the woman who has done more for you than anyone in the world." She was also very angry at florists for price gouging and didn't think much of candy as a Mother's Day gift. She was even arrested in 1948 for disturbing the peace while protesting against the commercialization of Mother's Day. Maybe Anna was right. I always found it hard to find a Mother's Day card for Mama. They were just too cloyingly sweet and unrealistic. The cards seemed to ignore a woman's humanity and instead elevated every act and deed of motherhood to a superhuman level. I thought, and still do, that Mama was a good mother because she revealed her humanity. Mama never claimed to be perfect, and she wasn't, but I always knew I was loved. It wasn't until I had children of my own that I realized what hard work mothering was. Walking the floor with a crying little one and then tiptoeing into the baby's room at midnight to check on them because they were being too quiet. This seemed to be a never-ending ritual. When they were older teens, comforting them and trying to soothe their broken hearts was no easier. One night, while staying awake, waiting for my son to come home from an away basketball game, I had an epiphany. I remembered the time I stayed out past curfew when I was a teenager. I was just hanging out with my friends. I didn't get into any trouble. We didn't have cell phones in the 60s, but there were payphones everywhere, and I had my emergency dime. And now in hindsight, I really regretted my decision not to call my mother and tell her where I was and that I was okay. That night I decided that Mother's Day card verses were wildly understated. Things just look different through the mother lens than through the child lens. One important thing about mothers is one size does not fit all. Some of our mothers made us feel loved most of the time. Some of our mothers didn't fit the mothering role and were difficult to live with or abusive because of mental illness or addiction. Some of us found substitute moms, maybe a friend's mother or a teacher to fill in the gaps that our moms left. Some of us lost our mothers in childhood, and we still feel that loss. Some of us never knew our birth mothers and were raised by an adoptive or a foster mother or a stepmother. Some of us were raised by our father or auntie or grandmother. There are as many ways to be mothered as there are people. Whoever mothered you, they taught you valuable life lessons, even if sometimes it was what not to do. There comes a time in everyone's life when they discover that their mother is not perfect. And then at a later time, they may learn that their mother did the best she could with what she had. So whether you think Mother's Day cards are over the top, or you think there is just no way they can encompass all your mother has done for you, we all have cause to be grateful to those people in our lives who mothered us. May it be so. Everyone who has mothered a child, whatever the situation, whoever they may be to the child, whoever you may be to the child, knows the feeling of worry. Worry that you may not be doing the right thing, or you may not be doing the right thing the right way, or you're just not up to the job. As we go forth today, may you know the blessing of peace of mind. May you know that all you have done to the best of your ability. May you take comfort in the resilience of children who have learned by your example to be loving human beings. May you be given the grace to understand that there is never just one right way and that you've always been up for the job. Take the flower you received today home as a token of the love that you have for the children you have mothered and the love you have for those who have mothered you. May the beauty of the flowers remind us that we are all bound together in the fabric of love. Go in peace, go in love, go surrounded by the beauty of flowers.